Have you ever really stopped to think about that cash in your wallet or the numbers in your bank account? We trade it for, well, everything: our coffee, our cars, our homes. But what if I told you it's all just a story we've agreed to believe in? Today, we're going to pull back the curtain on the secret history of money, and it might just be humanity's biggest and most important illusion.
So let me ask you a question. What's humanity's greatest invention? I mean, a lot of people would say fire, right? Or maybe the wheel. That one literally got everything rolling. And yeah, those are great answers for sure.
But there's another invention, one that's arguably just as powerful that we tend to overlook. And that's because, unlike fire or a wheel, you can't really touch it. See, money isn't a thing, it's an idea. It's this abstract concept that only has value because we all collectively agree that it does. To really get why we needed this crazy idea, we have to rewind the clock, way back to a time before money. All right, so picture this, a world without money. All you have is the barter system, a direct swap of goods and services. Sounds simple enough, doesn't it? I'll give you this for that. Well, in reality, it was an absolute mess.
Okay, so the biggest headache with bartering has this fancy name, the double coincidence of wants. And all that really means is that for any trade to work, you had to find someone who had the exact thing you needed and who also wanted the exact thing you had to offer at the exact same time. So let's say you make tents, but you need tomatoes. You have to find a tomato farmer who, right now, just happens to need a new tent. Good luck with that. It was super inefficient and honestly just plain unfair a lot of the time. And that wasn't even the only problem. There was also this huge issue with storing your wealth. If you're the tent maker, you're golden. You can stack up tents all year long, your wealth is pretty stable. But what if you're the tomato farmer? Your wealth literally rots away. You can only trade when your tomatoes are ripe, and you can't really save up for the future. The whole system, it was just broken. So clearly, people needed a better way. We needed some kind of middleman for every trade, something that everyone could just agree had value no matter what. And this need, well, it led to the very first placeholders for value.
So what did they use? Well, people started using common items that pretty much everyone found useful or desirable. We're talking about things like salt, weapons, animal skins, even certain kinds of shells. This became the first commodity money. The idea was, even if you didn't need a bag of salt right this second, you'd take it as payment because you were confident someone else would want it later. It was kind of like an IOU from the entire community.
And of course, this idea kept evolving. We went from shells and salt to, eventually, the first metal coins over in China. Fun fact, they were often shaped like tiny versions of tools, like little knives or spades. And then the big leap happened around 600 BC in a place called Lydia, that's modern-day Turkey. That's where the first official mint was created, stamping out standardized coins to guarantee their weight and value. Now, it's super important to understand this. At this point, money was not an illusion. Not yet. It had real, physical, intrinsic value. A coin made from a gram of gold was valuable because it was a gram of gold. You could literally melt it down, and the lump of metal was worth just as much as the coin. The value was in the material itself.
But then the people in charge, the rulers, the kings, they had a realization. They figured out that if you control the money, you control, everything. And that's when the real game began. Everything was about to change. See, rulers always want more money, right? But things like gold and silver are scarce, so they started to cheat the system. They'd start mixing in cheaper metals like copper, but still claim the coin was pure gold or silver, or they'd shave a little bit off the edges of each coin. All of a sudden, the value of the metal in the coin was way less than the value stamped on the coin. The value wasn't in the gold anymore. It was in the king's promise, his decree. And right there, that's the moment the illusion was born.
And this idea, this is the foundation of the system we all live with today. It's called fiat currency. The word fiat is actually Latin, and it basically means let it be done. It's money that has value for one reason and one reason only, because a government says it does. And because, well, we all trust them, or at least we act like we do.
So as global trade got bigger and bigger, lugging around sacks of heavy metal coins got pretty old, fast. It just wasn't practical. So rulers and banks started issuing paper notes, basically IOUs, or certificates, that you could take to the bank and trade in for your gold or silver coins. But after a while, people just stopped trading them in. It was easier to just trade the paper. People trusted the paper promise.
And soon enough, the paper itself became the money. And that trust, that's what paved the way for the financial world we know today.
Okay, let's hit the fast forward button to today. That exact same principle, money that's valuable just because the government says so, that's what runs the entire global economy. But there is a huge, massive catch. You see, back in the day of gold coins, you couldn't just make more gold. It was limited. But today, there's no physical limit. Governments can create more money, digitally or physically, pretty much whenever they want. They can just whip it into existence out of thin air. And look, there are reasons they do it, to fund things, to boost the economy. But this incredible power comes with a cost, a big one, and it's a cost we all end up paying.
And that cost has a name: inflation. It's actually pretty simple. When you have way more money chasing the same amount of goods and services, the value of each individual dollar goes down. It means your money just doesn't stretch as far as it used to. And if you want to see just how wild this can get, you don't have to look back very far at all. In fact, just think about what's happened in the last couple of years.
Get this, an incredible 40% of all US dollars that have ever existed were created in just an 18-month window. That's just staggering. Think about that for a second. Almost half of the money supply is brand new. That's the scale we're talking about.
Okay, so 40%, fiat currency, inflation. These are big, abstract ideas. But what does it actually mean for you, for your bank account, your grocery bill? How does this whole illusion actually hit you where it counts? Well, it means that the cash you've worked hard for and saved up, it's silently losing its power every single day. It's the reason the price of something like lumber can suddenly triple. It's why that scoop of guac at Chipotle costs 20 cents more this year than it did last year. It's a hidden tax, this slow, quiet erosion of your wealth. Okay, I know this can all sound a little bleak, but here's the good news. Just understanding how this game is played, seeing the illusion for what it is the single most important step you can take to protect yourself. Because here's the fundamental truth. Every new dollar that's created essentially steals a tiny piece of value from the dollars you already have. The number you see in your bank account might stay the same, but what that number can actually buy in the real world, that's constantly changing. So this puts all of us into a sort of game that we have to play whether we want to or not. And you basically have two choices for where to put your wealth. Choice one, you can keep it in currency, in cash, in a savings account, where it's pretty much guaranteed to lose its buying power over time. Or choice two, you can trade that currency for assets. We're talking about things that can potentially grow in value faster than inflation is eating it away. Look, in this modern money machine, the goal isn't even really about getting rich. It's about not getting poor. It's a game of preserving what you have for the future. So the question I want to leave you with is this. Take a hard look at your own finances. Is your wealth, the value you've worked for, sitting in a currency that's designed to lose value, or is it in assets that give you a fighting chance to stay ahead?